Hi, I'm Rob Awahand. In this video series, we're talking about the tools of critical thinking. The fact is, everybody says critical thinking is important, but there's confusion on what it actually is because critical thinking is not one thing. It's a variety of approaches and thinking tools that we can use when we see a message or an idea or a presentation or a report or an article. And using these different tools will help us look at an idea in different ways in order to think more carefully about it. So, in previous videos we have talked about what does quality thinking look like, how common theoretical frames are, logic, fact-checking, agenda setting, and framing. We've talked a little about how rhetorical techniques can manipulate an audience, although let's be clear that they're not always manipulative. Sometimes rhetorical techniques just help somebody to communicate better. And in the last video, we finished off by talking about why it's important to look at different viewpoints different than our own. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about something called the CRAAP test. Now, if you were in my class last semester, you've heard about this before. There are other videos on my YouTube channel about this that you can check, and there will be a link in the notes. But the CRAAP test was created by Sarah Blakesley and a group of librarians at California State University when they looked around and they said, you know what? The world is full of low-quality information right now. Especially in the age of the internet, it is so easy to find information, but a lot of it is trash. So how do you separate the good stuff from the trash? And one way to do that is the CRAAP test. So the CRAAP test is for checking sources and separating the gold from the crap. CRAAP actually stands for 5 letters, 5 words: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. We can explore this in a more detail, but very basically, a currency is asking the question, is the thing I'm reading new? In a lot of areas of study, newer information is better than old, because in areas like medicine, science, and technology, technology is improving. Our tools are getting better at measuring things, and we're understanding the world more and more. So in a lot of areas, what's newer is better than older stuff. So if you have an article from 1981 and an article from 2014, use the article from 2014. That's not 100% true all of the time, and you can watch the video on my YouTube channel about currency to see what I mean by that. But in general, newer is better in most academic fields. A relevance asks the question, is the thing I'm reading a good fit for the topic I'm trying to explore? Is it at the right level? Authority is asking the question, is the person who wrote this book or this article or who made this video or this presentation, is this person an expert? What did they study when they were in their school? What school are they connected with now? Are they a university professor or are they just some guy on YouTube? When they studied, did they study the area that they're talking about right now? Or do they have a PhD in chemistry, but they're talking about economics? Is this person an expert that I can trust in this area? What kind of experience do they have in their area? Accuracy. Is the information reliable? Are they making mistakes in their facts? Right? This goes back to earlier we talked about fact-checking, and you should also be fact-checking in the sources, checking the facts your sources are using to see if they're using sources accurately. Purpose is asking the question, why was this made? Some people write a book because they want to add to academic scholarship and they want to increase the amount of knowledge in the world. But other people write a book because they want to make money. Other people write a book because there's some political view they want to promote, and they will twist any facts and science they want to in order to make the political point they're trying to make. Why did they write this thing? Another thing for purpose is to check who's putting the money into it. Who paid to publish this book? Because sometimes once you find out who paid to publish that thing, then you can figure out what they really want and why they made it. Okay. These are methods for checking sources. This is a powerful tool because we should never automatically trust any source that we find, even if it's in a university library. And that's the CRAAP test. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about here is checking values. Values and priorities these are the ideas that give power to our opinions. Everybody has opinions, and everybody chooses their opinions based on what they think is important. Values are the big ideas behind our opinions. Things like freedom, justice, hard work, personal responsibility, compassion, order, unity. Okay, these are big ideas, and all of us think that some values are more important than others. All of us are willing to be a little flexible or sacrifice some values, but not others. In almost every important public discussion, you find conflicts between these kinds of values, where some people are saying this one should be more important, some people say this one should be more important. And once you can identify the values behind a political party's policy, it's easier to understand their thinking, and it's also easier to reply to them. Okay? Things like privacy versus safety, right? That's the real value conflict behind things like the real name internet or putting CCTVs all around the city. Okay? A conflict like transparency, right? Clear, transparent government versus efficiency. Cost versus environmental protection. How much are we willing to pay? How much are we willing to sacrifice the economy to protect our clean air? Right? Hard work versus human dignity. Okay, some people think that we should improve welfare for the sake of people's human dignity. Other people think that the value of hard work is so important that we should cut welfare so that everybody who wants money needs to work hard. Right? Freedom versus justice, morality versus privacy. Okay, these are the value conflicts behind hot political issues. Now, if you want to understand someone's opinions, figure out their values, because their values are what give power to their opinions, what make them committed to their opinions. And if you want to change someone's mind, you have to figure out their values first. Because if you're talking about a value they don't care about, you will never change their mind. I'll give you an example. I believe that welfare should be improved in pretty much every country. The reason I believe that is because I believe human dignity is a really important value. So if my friend tells me, well, increasing welfare is going to increase tax and that's bad for the economy, making an economy argument against welfare is never going to persuade me. Because I don't believe we should improve welfare to help the economy. I believe we should improve welfare to help human rights, to help justice, to help human dignity. So if my friend can find an argument against welfare that says, no, welfare is not good for human dignity, and here's why, they might change my mind. But if they argue that welfare is bad for the economy, they'll never do it. Okay? You've got to figure out someone's values before you can change their mind. That is our discussion of the CRAAP test and values. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.